Les Boyd doubles down on Darryl Broman. Buzzy, talk us through this. This was an interesting one that happened last week after...
Yeah. Look, it was an unfortunate story in that we're here to celebrate 8 or 9 champions who have been inducted, and all the attention's been on Boyd and Broman. And I can understand there's two sides to this story. The point I tried to make in the weekend columns is the Hall of Fame is not a best and fairest award. There's people in there, Noel Kelly sent off 17 times, Johnny Sattler, Tommy Radonicus. There were some rough, tough people who didn't always play within the rules. The only area I defended Les Boyd in, what he did was shocking. Not tolerated back then. He was given 1 year off, a 12-month ban by the judiciary, which was fair enough. Not only that, he was the subject of civil action, and he paid out $30,000 in damages. A median house in Sydney in 1983 was 80 grand. So he's basically almost paid out half a house and lost a year of his career. There is no structure, there's no criteria that says...
But should there be?
Yeah,
that's the only question I ask.
Well, what are you going to do? You're going to drag Noel Kelly out?
I'm just asking the question.
Future.
I don't know much about it until I've heard you talk about it, and the reaction from Darryl, obviously he's passionate about it, and I just asked the question, well, should they consider that? I don't know.
Well, that is really up to the NRL if they want to toughen up the criteria and say anyone who's been suspended for 12 months or sent off more than 15 times.
So many games. Like if you've been suspended...
How do you... What's the limit though, Gordy? I mean, I think that's too hard.
Yeah.
You know, I think a guy just... I can understand there's off-field issues. You want to bring that into the debate. But I think on-field issues, if a guy's been suspended, I don't... You know, over the course of a career, but I'm saying I don't think
because
they should...
Get selected.
You know, over the course of... What did Les play? How many years in the NRL?
He played 17.
Decade,
he
right?
played questioning whether Les should be there as a player.
Yeah.
But what we are questioning
either.
about is his history with the judiciary.
Yeah.
As I explained, I think in any form of life, if you go to jail for robbing a bank, you do your time, you've done your crime, you get on with life. He did his time and paid for it. So
I think his comments were a bit distasteful. He should be grateful I did it. I mean, you know, I think
that's fair comment
poor
too.
form, right?
That's fair comment.
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
Well, that's what he says there.
It was juicy. Did you get that quite, Buzz?
Bulldog did. Bulldog's a very,
Bulldog.
very good mate of Les Boyd. They were at the races at Fosterton Curry a week earlier.
Beautiful. All right. Who will be the next immortal? That's the big question now. Who's it going to be?
Well, of the list, the guys who are eligible, it's Cam Smith for me.
Yeah.
I think it has to be Cam Smith.
The more I think about it, if it was a job interview and he puts his CV down and everybody else throws theirs in the ring, he's got the best.
I'm going to stick out of this one because I actually voted and I don't want to give away my vote. I know it was very, very close and there were some great arguments for a lot of people.
Well, just go for someone you didn't vote for.
Sorry? It might happen, mate.
You're a very important person, aren't you, Buzz?
What?
No, voting for the Immortals.
Well, it's a funny story. I voted when Joey got on and then I got kicked off the panel.
Yeah.
Why is
So I was given a holiday, I don't know why, about as long as Les Boyd, then they bought Peter.
You're voting on the Immortals, you're running our docos.
I'm not running the
You're changing
docos.
Golden Point. You've got this summit going on, Buzz. You're taking over the game.
Time up.
If Cameron Smith, if he becomes an immortal, does that mean the past players before him are running out of time? Have they missed their opportunity? How does it work?
Well, I wasn't in the meeting, but I heard someone in the meeting raise the idea that if you get nominated 3 times and you don't make it, that should be it for you. And I agree with that. I think that's, you know, if Ron Coote, and magnificent player Ron Coote, one of the greatest we've seen, right? But Ron Coote's been nominated a lot of times and he hasn't made it. That says to me he shouldn't be an immortal.
Yeah, if you don't make it in your era, and as harsh as what it is, right, if all those guys don't make it in their era, right, my era is Andrew Johns. And before that is Mel Meninga. So I touched on Mel's era to Joey's. There's no way I was... so then in 30 years' time, they go, oh, well, there's no back row. It's like, let's throw this bloke in there. I didn't make it in my era.
The benefit I have, and Ray Hadley had, and Roy Masters had, and a few of the older people on the panel, that we saw Ron Coote, and we saw that he was a cigarette paper behind John Raper.
But he was behind
He's
him.
been put in already.
But he's behind him.
Yeah,
And there's only going to be more players
mate,
in the next 10 years.
Mate, I'm not arguing with you.
Oh, okay.
I'm not arguing. Do
You're
we
with
go
me?
back? But Darren Lockyer is worthy of consideration. Alfie Langer's worthy of
But
consideration.
I'm not saying they shouldn't be considered.
Absolutely, they are.
Ron's been considered several times and he hasn't been put in.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If you get considered several times, I think in the NFL or Major League Baseball, I think you get 3 shots at it. And if you don't get in, your name's struck off the list.
When I retire, I'm going to move for you to replace me on the panel.
All right, Rudy. The